Okay, brand new setup guide today for Raspberry Pi users. I'm using the Raspberry Pi 400 for the new release of Batocera 38, also known as Blue Moon. So this is going to be a fully comprehensive guide for getting your image flashed, how to configure particular settings on Batocera 38, such as connecting to your network, how to add games, controller configuration. I'm going to be showing you how to script your artwork for your games and much more. So if you want to check this awesome front end out for Raspberry Pi, then check this video out. Okay then, so before I start today's setup guide, just hit notifications and subscribe, and also like if you like today's video so you don't miss upcoming content for retro emulation that I pretty much upload every day nowadays on my channel, just Jamie. So anyways, we're looking at Batocera 38, which is obviously a brand new front end system, and today we're doing this for the Raspberry Pi. So we need a couple of prerequisites. We need some software to flash an SD card onto, and we also need the Batocera 38 image, of course. So link's going to be in my description for these. Okay, so we're going to head over to the Batocera website and we're going to grab ourselves Batocera Linux 38, which is that shiny little button just there. And if we go on this link, and link's going to be in my description, of course, I'm specifically doing this for the Raspberry Pi 400, but if you're using a Raspberry Pi 4 or any other Raspberry Pi actually, then it's good to go. You're safe following this guide. It's all going to be pretty much the same for the Raspberry Pi. So we're going to download Raspberry Pi 400 for now, and that one's going to start downloading. And whilst we're waiting for this one to download, we're going to download Raspberry Pi Imager, where we can flash the image onto our micro SD card. And so this is the Raspberry Pi Imager website, and we can download this for Windows, so just left click. And then it's just a case of just waiting for these two things to download. In the meantime, if we go back over to the Batocera website, let's go to changelog. And under changelog, you'll find the latest version of this is actually referred to as Blue Moon. So there's lots of different features added to this latest installment of Batocera, and we've got lots of fixes from the previous version of Batocera 37. We got many changes, and we got lots of updates to the emulators and cores, including CMU and Dolphin and Kodi by the looks of it. So lots of updates and lots of different systems this is now going to be catering for. So let's just wait for the Batocera 38 image to download, and we're going to flash that onto our micro SD card. Okay, so once those two items have finished downloading, we've got the Imager and we also got Batocera 38 image. So let's just install Imager just on the Raspberry Pi Imager. Just press yes if you get a little pop-up, and let's just go ahead and install this one. Run Raspberry Pi Imager, let's just keep that checked and press on finish. Next up, I've got myself a SanDisk Ultra 128GB micro SD card. So I'm going to just pop this one in, and if you've got one of these micro SD cards and you've already got data on it from a previous installation for Raspberry Pi of some sort, then don't worry about formatting it. Raspberry Pi Imager will sort everything out for us. So let's just pop that one in. And as you can see, I've already got data on this one, but that's going to be fine. So first of all, what we need to do in Raspberry Pi Imager is go to Operating System, choose OS, and for this part, I'm going to just scroll down and just use custom. So select a custom.image from your computer, and now I need to just look for this image which is on my desktop. So, and here it is. So once you find that, just double left click on the image. And storage, we're going to choose this one, and this is my SDXC micro SD card, so just click on that, and then just simply go to write. All existing data will be erased. Are you sure you want to continue? Press yes, yes. And now we just patiently wait for this one to flash, and then eventually it's going to verify it, and then we're good to go. Okay, so once that's been finished, what we're going to do next is just press on continue, and let's just close out a Raspberry Pi imager, and okay, and then it's just turn off this laptop of mine, and I'm going to head over to my Raspberry Pi 400, and we're going to get things going. Okay, so we got the Raspberry Pi 400 connected, and what I'm going to do is just put this micro SD card into the back, and what we're going to do next is, if you're using the Raspberry Pi 400, I would connect your mouse with it, if you've actually got a mouse, that is. So just plug in your mouse, because we will need this at some point to transfer some games over. And I'm also going to connect an Xbox controller here into the back of the Raspberry Pi 400. And like I said just a minute ago, even if you're using a Raspberry Pi 4 rather than a 400, just remember that a Raspberry Pi 400 is pretty much a Raspberry Pi 4. Although the Raspberry Pi 4 goes up to 8GB, whereas the 400 just stays at 4GB. So they're pretty much the same computer inside. So what we're going to do next is just get everything ready, and I'm going to just power this on now. And here we go. So there's a brief little repartitioning window which comes up, and it'll pretty much boot straight into Batocera 38 from now on. And here we go. So like I say, I've got my controller plugged in with this, and what I'm going to do is actually just configure this controller. So what I'm going to do to configure it is just go to main menu, and from here, if I go to controller and Bluetooth settings, controller mapping, and just press OK. Now bear in mind that this appears to work just fine, but when you go deeper into games, you'll find that buttons aren't configured correctly, so you may as well just get this part over with the initial setup like I'm doing now. So configure input, one gamepad detected. It says hold a button on your device to configure it. So what I'm going to do is just do what it says. So hold down the button, and here we go. So from here we can correspond the east with, say, B on the Xbox controller, south as the A, and it's just literally a case of just going down and mapping your controller. It's not really rocket science, this part. Left analog up and left analog left. And the most important key just here is actually going to be the hotkey. What the hotkey does is actually exits us from games whilst we're playing our games. So just remember which button you're going to be using as your hotkey for this, and press OK, and that's it. We're pretty much done with the initial controller setup. What we're going to do next, which is very important, is actually get this connected to network connection. So network settings, and I'm going to just go down to enable Wi-Fi and just click this to on. Now it's going to take a few seconds to initialize. And what we're going to do next is just go down to Wi-Fi SSID, and this is the point where you can find your network. So I'm going to just select my network, and then Wi-Fi key, we need to pop in the password of our network. So obviously I'm going to skip ahead of this part. And once you put in your password, if we just go down to back, give that a few seconds again to initialize. And it's now enabled. So OK, back. Now let's test this out. We've got the Wi-Fi logo at the top just here. So we're going to test it out by attempting to download a theme through Batocera. So main menu by pressing start button. And if I now go down to updates and downloads, themes, we're now connected. Otherwise, we wouldn't see this. So let's download a really funky theme for this. So I always say this, but A Touch of Glass is by far the best theme on here. If you get any problems installing this one, it's known to be a bit problematic for some people, the Touch of Glass theme. But don't fret, because there's other themes here we could use. I recommend Alecful NX, and it's only 183 megabytes. So just press A on there and go to install. And as we can see, this is now downloading, and that's actually downloaded fairly quick. So we're going to wait for this one to download. And rather than using this really boring, generic emulation station style theme, we're going to choose and utilize this really cool Alec4 NX theme for this. And now it says extracting, and it's been successfully installed. So to actually apply this theme, we're going to go to main menu by pressing start again. And if we this time go to user interface settings, top option is theme set. And here's the theme we just downloaded, Alec4. If I press A on this, and I'll just back out, we have now got a new theme, which looks a little bit more impressive than the standard default Batocera theme. So pretty cool stuff. So what have we got inside Batocera? We've obviously got some systems with some homebrew games already installed, including my all-time favourite system, the C64. And we got Fix-It Felix Jr., so that's ready to go straight out of the box. And rather than coming out and back into these systems, once we're in this system, if you just press right or left, you can scroll through your systems. So we've got PC Engine, a couple of homebrew games here, something very festive. We got Nintendo NES homebrew game, Super Nintendo game Classic Kong, Game Boy Advance homebrew game, and we got some ports as well, open bore ports. If you're not sure what open bore is, it's an engine which pretty much takes bits and pieces from old retro games and kind of jumbles them up into new sort of games, if that makes sense. So Doom is particularly impressive on this. Pi game, we got Old Towers for the Mega Drive, which is also included. I rated this at number 1 in my 2019 C64 games countdown. I've not tried it on Mega Drive, but I'm sure it's still awesome. So that's everything which it comes with. What we're going to do next then is take a look at system settings. Now if we just scroll down a touch on system settings, let's say for example you're having issues with your sound output. Say you're using a soundbar or something external rather than speakers in the TV. If you can't hear anything, then it's likely going to be listed in your audio output or audio profile. We can also change the splash screen. So when Batocera boots up, you'll get a little image pop up, which is actually pretty funky with the default splash screen. But you can change it from here, so that's another really cool feature. And say you want to permanently install this Batocera setup onto a hard drive or whatever, you just go down to install on a new disk, target device. So say for example you've got a hard drive plugged into your Pi or whatever, under target device your option of your target device will be there. So select it, and then target architecture, say for Raspberry Pi, it's going to be listed under here. And then simply just click on "Are you sure?" Just click on yes on that, and then just go to install, and Batocera then install onto your hard disk. And under main menu, if we go to updates and downloads again, we can also download some content. So what we got under content downloader is a bunch of bezels what we can download, and bezels are kind of decorations which appear on the sides of the screen. Some of you like that, some of you don't, but the options there, you literally just press A to install, just like we did with themes. And also under the bezel project, under updates and downloads, you can install bezels from here as well. There's some really cool ones, so it's worthwhile checking those out. And I'm going to just go back to user interface settings again. If we go into this, we can actually customize this theme in the background that I've just applied. So theme configuration, and we can change the style of how the game lists are presented. So if we go on here, we got a range of options here we can use, such as tiles and video. Just select it, press B to come out. And if I go back into a system, things are going to look a little bit different. So for example, Old Tower just a minute ago looked a lot different to this. So under theme configuration, there's lots of different options there to mess around with. Now, if you've not heard of retro achievements, you can actually enable this through this version of Batocera. So to do this, just go to game settings, and right at the bottom we will see retro achievement settings. If we just click onto this one, just enable retro achievements. So what retro achievements does is whenever you're playing a particular game, if you get to a certain point, you literally get a little pop-up window with a little sound. and it will say you've earned so many points or whatever. So head over to Retro Achievements, it's absolutely free, and once you've got your username and password, just pop it in here, and you'll start earning Retro Achievements ever playing your games. Now, whilst we're under game settings, a really useful tool Batocera's got is missing BIOS check. So if you're ever in doubt about particular systems, you know, you're needing BIOS files, you're not sure which ones to use, under game settings, missing BIOS check, it will list here every BIOS that is required through Batocera. So as we can see, the 3DO is at the top, and this requires 3.bin files. And if you scroll down, you'll find everything. Now, Amiga's quite a problematic system for some people. So say Amiga 1200, it's got many different Amiga OSs in Kickstart BIOSes required. So that's a really useful, easy way to find out what's what through BIOS check. So what we're going to do next, what everyone's waiting for, is how do you add games. So on the Raspberry Pi 400, we've obviously got a keyboard. What I'm going to do is press F1, and that's going to bring us into this screen. Now, if you're using any other Raspberry Pi, then obviously you're going to need to connect a keyboard of some sort for this part. Now, I connected my Raspberry Pi 400 mouse for this part. So let's just go through what's what just here. So on the left-hand side, we're going to find BIOS and ROMs. So this is all of the systems that RetroBat 38 supports. So I'm going to very quickly put a very basic game inside to show you how this is done. So I've got an external hard drive. I'm going to just plug this into the back of the Raspberry Pi 400. And as we can see on the left hand side just here, we got new volume up here. This is a hard drive I've just connected. And inside of here, I've just randomly got a Nintendo NES game, Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers. To add this into Batocera, if I just right click on it, copy, and go back over to the ROMs folder on the left hand side, and just navigate to NES folder. So just go inside there, right click and paste, and now your game is now added into Batocera, or rather the micro SD card. So if we go up to the BIOS folder here on the left, you can drag all your BIOS files inside of here. By and large, most of your BIOS files will just loosely go in this field just here. And if we go to applications, we can set up more complex systems just here, but you can check out my setup guides for those particular systems, such as DuckStation and Dreamcast. So if we come out of here, we're going to go to File and just go down to Close Window. And I'm using my controller again. And if we go to the NES folder, there's no Chip 'n Dale game added. So what we need to do is just go to main menu, game settings, update game list, and press on yes. Let's go back into NES, and here's my game just here. So we can scrape artwork for this. I recommend you getting a free Screen Scraper account, so just go over to the Screen Scraper website. It's going to be in French, but obviously you can use Google Translate to translate it into whatever language it is you want. So to scrape, we're going to go to main menu, and just scroll down to Scraper, and from there, Scraper settings. Now let me give you some heads up. Image source, I always say select box 3D for this. Box source, I always leave the box 2D. Logo source, wheel is fine. And if you want preview videos for your retro games, just enable video. Also fan art, in case there's a particular almost rare game that Scraper won't pick up on. Someone around the world might have done something art-wise, fan art for that particular game. So just in case, just leave that on as an alternative. And we're going to select manual to on. And right at the bottom, we're then going to put in username and passwords, which you'll have once you've signed up with Screen Scraper. So just pop in your details there. Okay, and once you entered your details, what you're going to do next, just go to back and scrape now. And you'll find at the top right, scraping. So I was looking for 2 pieces of art at the moment, 1 out of 2. So just give that a few seconds, depending on how large your collection is. And once it's done, we'll go back up to game settings, update game list, yes. And here is my game. Now, because I customized this a minute ago, it doesn't look too great. So I'm going to just customize this again. So it's going to be under user interface settings, theme configuration, and under game list view style, I'll leave this one to automatic. And let's back out, back into Nintendo NES. and that looks a bit better. So that's up to you to customize. But let's open up the game itself. So just enter into that by pressing A. Whoa. So anyway, enough of that. So what we're going to need to do is exit this game. And earlier on in the video, I was telling you about hotkeys. So if we press the hotkeys to exit this. And that's it for today's Raspberry Pi and Batocera 38 setup guide. So like I said at the start of the video, if you like what you see today, hit notifications, subscribe and like so you don't miss upcoming retro emulated content here on my channel, Just Jamie. Also, be sure to check me out on social media. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. And also, no pressure intended, but I also accept donations on my channel just to enhance my channel. I'm going to be covering bigger and better things next year if I raise enough money through donations. But anyways, until next time, stay retro.